Hello, welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia, episode 149. I'm your host, Jacob Rush, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Black and Joshua Taylor, and we are back, and we are playing with power. Gentlemen, how you doing this week?
I'm doing just fine.
Yeah, Josh, welcome back. Man, last week we talked about Little Nightmares, telling people to go get it. Josh actually didn't own the game, and he went out and got it. What do you think about that, Josh? What do you think about Little Nightmares?
Well, I'm just about, maybe an hour and a half in, and it's unlike anything else I've ever tried before. It's definitely pretty creepy. I'm a little bit stuck. Actually, I think the last time I put it down, I was starting to get the hang of things, but I just haven't had the time to get back into it. But I plan to.
Josh, you always say you don't have time to game, but I have to disagree. You're like, you've already been ukulele. You're already surpassed me in Little Nightmares. Like, you game a lot, and then you're like you're posting Crash Team Racing, and then you're back on Smash Brothers. I'm thinking, like, how does this guy get to game so much? I'm jealous.
I make the time. It's probably not a good thing. It's I shouldn't be.
I mean, to be fair with ukulele, I don't know. I kind of drag my feet a little bit. One, I like to savor it. I don't like to just rush right through it all. At the same time, I really want to beat it. I don't know. I guess. Hold on. Let's just get into what we've been radical rexing about. And to start us off, I know Josh and I are still radical rexing about ukulele and the impossible lair. And for me, I want to just go beat the final layer. I do, but at the same time, I want to 100% everything, and I'm still looking for one more coin. And I've got maybe 9 or 8 tonics left to find, and I just don't know where they all are, So it's kind of like, should I just say screw it and just keep on going and finish this thing, or But that's not me. It bugs me if I don't finish it. But I mean, for being realistic with life and how much time I get to dedicate, I could be stuck on this game for another 2 weeks at that rate, So I'm kind of torn on that. But Josh, I know you wanted to talk about ukulele. You weren't able to be on last week. Dude, let us have it. You were still excited about the game. Your daughter is a bee in the game, thanks to you. So yeah, man, what do you think of it all?
I don't want to go onto it too much because then it would take up the whole episode.
We'll have one.
But yeah, I love it. I even got to write that little review for it.
Yes, congratulations. Yeah, I mean, that was great.
Of course, since back when Donkey Kong Country started, I've been a huge fan of that. So yeah, it was like it was made for me. But yeah, I love it. I keep going back to it. I should be getting through other games like Ori right now that I've been playing through, but I keep ending up going back to ukulele and the impossible lair just to goof off, even though I beat it. Just messing around with tonics.
How good of a game it is. It's so good.
Yeah, it's fun just to go back and turn on some crazy stuff, make it look crazy, give them big heads, whatever. Yeah. It actually adds to it a little bit.
I enjoy using the tonics more once I've done it. Like my first run through, I don't like I'm a purist when it comes to games. Like a lot of people like to change Link's outfits or Mario's outfits in Mario Odyssey and stuff. Like I actually hate that because I really, it bothers me if I'm not in the traditional Mario suit or if I'm not in the traditional Link suit. So like I like to be the way it was originally designed. I know that a lot of people love that stuff. That's why it's there. But once I've done the main stuff, I'll go back and experiment. So
I'm somewhere in the middle with that. I'll like if there's costumes or something, I'll try them out and then I'll go back. But then I'll try out. I'm like, ooh, I just unlocked this. I got to use it. And then I'm like, it doesn't look like Mario anymore or whatever.
Sure,
so,
absolutely.
I kind of get that.
Like if I'm going to beat King K. Rool with Donkey Kong, I got to beat him in a red DK tie, not like a blue DK tie. It's got to be the original design. That's how I feel about it. So when I go into that final battle, like in Breath of the Wild, I put Link in the green tonic outfit, whatever, and tunic, and that's how I beat him. That's how I took him out. I think I did it in like Ocarina of Time outfit because I thought that looked the coolest.
So in Zelda, do you use Link as your name or do you use your name?
My name.
Okay. I use my name too, but I know people that will use Link.
Yeah, I've always just done it. I love that. I love when you can change the name to yourself because I just feel like it makes me feel a little bit more part of the game. Like it's really me as the character.
Yeah.
So I guess I do change that, but outside of that though, like I gotta see, they gotta look like the character in my opinion. Anything else you're Radical Rexing about? I know we kind of just jumped into it this week. Josh, anything else?
Really, ukulele was the biggest thing, and like you said, my daughter's got that. Her B is Lil B, and it's a little hard to say. It's so close to her name, I have to think about what I'm saying. But yeah, so that's cool. That's a whole thing in itself. But yeah, for the most part, that, and I'm excited for Luigi's Mansion 3 coming out. Those are the two games that I was most excited for this year.
Yes.
And I've always loved that series. I don't want to get stuck on that now, but yeah.
I got to get you out of the way before that gets here.
I'm actually playing around on the first one again some. I probably beat that game 6 times, and it's just easy to sit down and go through when you're kind of half doing other stuff.
It's a great game. I mean, I'm with you. Luigi's Mansion was my number 1, and then they announced Yooka-Laylee and Impossible Lair, and it became my number 2. It's definitely my number 1 from Nintendo directly, but and they both come out in the month of October. Like, wow,
yeah,
that's awesome. Cool. Well, Ryan, man, what about you? You're just kind of sitting over there, double vision, silent. What's going on, man?
It's been a crazy week, man. I don't know if I can Radical Rex about it too much, but so my yard, the war in my yard was finally launched, and we tore out everything. Actually, my family did most of it. I've been working so much. Yeah, they tore out all the front yard and put up a new planter box wall. It's looking really great, and they've been working really hard all week. And they really knocked it out of the park with the work that they've done. I worked a lot on the inside. I hooked up a couple dishwashers till we find one that worked, and then we had a backup in the drain, so it all backed up into the new dishwasher. So I had to clean up all that mess. So yeah, that was kind of my week. I got to play Overwatch, which I'm really excited about. I'm Radical Rexing a big ton on that one. But also I played a little bit of Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. So having fun with that, just unlocking a thing here or there. Keeping it real.
Keeping it real.
The Star Wars trailer just dropped right when we started recording this podcast, the final one for Rise of Skywalker. And I really want to watch it, but I'm here doing this thing, and I'm going to watch it right after.
Yeah.
There you go. I'll probably do the same thing. Cool. For me, I have a lot. Shocker. I have a lot to Radical Rex about this week. First thing I want to Radical Rex about is my shirt that I'm wearing. You guys can't really see it, but it's
what size is that shirt?
This is a medium.
Okay, you wear mediums. Nice.
Yeah, I can fit in mediums now, which is another thing I'll Radical Rex about. But I came home. It's October 21st. My birthday is tomorrow. I'll be 29 officially on October 22nd. So my little girl, I got home from work and she came running out to my car and she's like, Daddy, it's your birthday. And I guess her, Mommy, and Jack went out and they bought some like cupcakes tonight because I actually have to work late tomorrow at work. And she bought me this little shirt from the kids. and it fits great. It's a Goku shirt. I love it. It's orange and black too, so I'm like, that's great for the month of October. It's medium. It fits well. Which can roll into my next Radical Rex. I just finished a whole 30. I'm in the middle of doing it around a P90X, and I'm down 12 pounds from when I initially started, which was just back in like late August. So I'm looking really good. I mean, that sounds really vain, but I am to the point where like I'm not embarrassed to like walk around the house with my shirt off, and like I feel good about that. And whereas before I was like, I always wanted to wear, a little bit baggier clothes and nothing too tight. I was able to wear my Banjo Kazooie shirt that I got. I got 2 of them, and they've really just kind of sat in my drawer because I got them and they were just a little too snug. And now it's to the point to where they're snug on my shoulders and chest, but not my waist. And that's exactly what you want, So I'm excited about that. It's good. I'm getting back to my old trainer day phases. I'm not done. Keep working, one day at a time is what I tell myself. That's my motto, just one day at a time. But I'm excited about all of that. Obviously, the ukulele and the Impossible Lair. And I'm excited about Luigi's Mansion 3 coming out. So my birthday is tomorrow, but I'm not really doing anything on my birthday. It's kind of weird because this is the first time I normally have a birthday party like right before my birthday or right after my birthday on the weekend. But this year, because Luigi's Mansion decided to come out on Halloween, I decided it was like, okay, I'm going to get it on Halloween. My parents actually gave me my birthday card this past week, and my parents they always give us like $50 to all their kids and their birthday. And that's basically paying for Luigi's Mansion 3. I'm going to get it, and I'm going to, I'm getting off work early on Halloween to go trick-or-treating because this will be my daughter's first real Halloween. Nice mushroom, Ryan. We will go trick-or-treating, but I'm going to have Luigi's Mansion to come home to, and I'm going to eat some candy and stay up late playing Luigi's Mansion 3 on Halloween night. But because of that, I'm having my birthday party with the NOS crew, which it's just a NOS crew hangout, basically. It's how the guys over. We have the same foods, pizza, but there's cake, for my birthday, and we're going to game and on that Saturday. So I'm actually going to have a big shebang for my birthday on November 2nd. But I'm going to be off all weekend. I took the Friday off, took that Saturday off for sure. And I'm getting off early on Thursday because of Halloween. So it's going to be a good time that following weekend. So I'm excited about all that. Man.
I do wish I could make it up there. I'm way too far away.
So what you're saying is tomorrow you're going to gain an extra life. You're going to 1-up.
Oh. I am going to.
He was waiting for that one.
He held the mushroom for like 2 minutes there, just staring at me. Good job, Ryan. I really, for somebody I'm not into horror. I hate horror. I hate gore. I hate really being scared. I really do. But the month of October is just such a fun time. I think, spookiness can have a fun side to it. I love the colors. I love the lime greens, the purples, the orange, the dark. I think it all is great and it's fun, So I'm just loving this time. I'm loving this time of year, and and the Colts dominated yesterday again, so that's something to Radical Rex about. And another big one. I got a Radical Rex about this. Finally, over the weekend on Saturday, I just dedicated pretty much the whole day to cleaning out my garage. And we moved into this house about a year ago this time, and that's been my goal ever since we moved in. It's so nice. We can park both of our cars and we can get out and walk around, and there's not just stuff everywhere, and like it's clean and I can walk. It's such a great feeling. I felt so good leaving my house this morning and not having to go outside in the cold and rain to get in my car, and I was just able to get in my car in the garage and dry as can be and leave. It was so nice. So nice. Really, that's all I've been Radical Rexing about. I'm getting ready to start my next song too, which is going to be spooky-ish. So on the way home, I was actually doing some research, listening to like random spooky Nintendo songs. And I was like actually scaring myself because it was just really creepy to just hear stuff on my way home. So I'm easily spooked. I really am. Like, freaks me out. So hopefully I can come up with something good. I'm not used to this. Writing anything fast, pop punk, or really pretty is easy for me. But when it comes to something outside of my elements, my traditional elements, it's challenging. So I'm looking forward to it. But I hope I can get it done and done good. So do it right. Okay, I'll shut up now. It's been about 10 minutes of me radical rexing once again. We have a fun topic to get into. This is our fourth week of our spooky talk. Is that correct? Fourth episode this month? 1, 2. Yeah, this is the fourth one. Yep. Because the first one was our villains. We recorded it in September, but it launched in October, which was part of our spooky stuff. So, and then we had Metroid, and then we had Little Nightmares, and now we are here. And guys, this week we have Josh back on specifically because he's such an expertise in this field. We are talking about a specific character spotlight, and who better to talk about in the month of Halloween than the witch herself, Gruntilda. All right, guys. Let's dive in. Gruntilda the Witch, the main villain from Banjo Kazooie, the series. She's fun. Obviously, I mentioned her in my villains episode and multiple villains episodes that she's up there and hardest boss fights, favorite villains. Let's talk about this witch. Ryan, take us off, man. Just kidding.
Why did you pick me, man?
Anything. Because I knew that would be the wrong pick. No, Josh, take us off, man. Talk about Gruntilda here.
All right. So
this character, what do you think about her?
Well, let me pull
She's a
this
witch.
back up here.
And,
there we go. She is a witch.
She's very green and has black and some stripes. She likes stripes a lot.
She's very ugly.
She's a bit on the plump side sometimes. Another time she's, slender.
Even when she's slender, she's still fat. I'll get back to that in a minute. Anyway, I'm at the bones, not when we're overthinking it. So anyway, the first game, she started out in Banjo Kazooie, all the way back in '98. I'm gonna go in like chronological order here that the games actually came out because the stories bounce around a little bit.
Sure.
So of course she popped up in there first, and she started out with a pretty goofy role already, and was a lot more present than a lot of other villains in other games.
Oh yeah, totally.
So like right from the opening scene, you find out she's wanting to steal Tootie's beauty. That's the whole reason she wants to kidnap her. So it's way different than like Bowser wanting to kidnap Peach or something like that.
Well, of course, the game starts off like typically I don't feel like games really start off with the villain being the first thing you really see. You know what I mean? So that was, if you really think about it, that's kind of unique, especially for that time in games. From what we had seen, it was a cool cutscene and everything.
That was like in the first minute, and you see her finding out that she's apparently not the most beautiful thing in that land, which should have been obvious. But in the meantime, she's picking her nose and flings it.
Should be obvious. Oh, dude, she's an idiot.
If that didn't make it obvious enough.
Rare did a great job. I mean, that's what you love about Rares. They just have so much humor in their games, and I love it. And yeah, from the get-go, man, you just know she's ugly. The whole story of Banjo Kazooie is just so stupid. It's funny. I love it. I mean,
it fits it.
You realize she's jealous of a child bear. Like, she wants the beauty of a little bear, a cub. I mean, Tootie is not an adult. She's not a grown bear here. She's jealous of a child.
Yeah,
She's got problems.
It makes just enough sense to still be cohesive, I guess, by the time it's all said and done.
For sure.
But another big thing for Grunty in particular is rhyming. So, like, the whole game, she is rhyming. Now, eventually, this shuts off by the second game, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a big thing. I couldn't even attempt it. And throughout that whole first game, especially, she is heckling you as you go through her layer. Sometimes just at random, or if you get to certain points, she'll say something.
Right.
So, like I said, she's just ever present. It's like she's sitting there watching everything you're doing.
Yeah, probably through her pot, you know.
Yeah. So I thought that added something a little special to it compared to some other games.
Oh,
especially at the time.
Did.
I really liked that rhyming scheme and the heckling throughout the adventure. I also enjoyed that element. If I'm remembering this right, that was an element in Ukulele as well, correct?
Yep.
Where he'd like poke at you and prod at you as you go through.
Capital B.
And I'm a little sad they didn't include this in the sequel too much that I've seen. But maybe that stays true. I don't know if she heckles you in the second one. I haven't actually played Banjo Kazooie. But I really liked her theme. I really like this villain a lot. Believe it or not, not being a huge fan of Banjo Kazooie, like I almost cheered for her. It's like I don't want like Banjo's sister to be like bothered, but at the same time, like, you know, why can't she be beautiful? You know.
Right. Well, no, she's obviously we're going to stick on Kazooie right now, and we can proceed to how she changes as a character through each game. But you know, I mentioned it before in our villains episode. That's what I love about her. I love how she's always present. I love how she's always there, talking to you, messing with you. You know she's always around. You know, whereas like Bowser, I guess, somewhat talks to you in Mario 64, but in general, Bowser's pretty hidden until you get to him, and she is not. Like, you could feel like she could pop out at any time, and thankfully, she doesn't, because she'd really destroy you. She did, because in the early stages of the game. But Gruntilda, she's very funny, she's very mean, and she's very ugly, and that really
those are unkind words to say.
Well, it's all true, so I'm not sorry. We can talk about, like, let's just talk about that game over scene real quick. Grunty is basically if you die in Banjo Kazooie, or if you end the game, you don't finish it in one playthrough, you get to see the aftermath of your decisions, and she steals Tootie's beauty, and she comes out as this slender, sexy looking witch. Doesn't even look the same at all. And of course, Mumbo Jumbo is quick to hop sides there and offer her a flower. It's so funny. I mean, he's all against her. Then once she comes out hot, he's like, Ikampoko, never mind, you know, whatever he says. And he wants to be her boyfriend, basically. But she has the same voice. Well, she has the same laugh. She does not have the same voice as when she talks as Sexy Gruntilda, as what we're going to refer to her as. So I always thought that was an interesting dynamic, because when she is a slender, more prettier witch, I mean, I feel like I get a different tone from her. She doesn't seem as humorous. She seems more serious, whereas you can't take the fat, ugly witch Gruntilda seriously. You know what I mean? Even though she is a dangerous character, you can't take her serious just for her rhymes and her talks. And she just doesn't feel that way when she turns slender. And I always wondered, what would a Banjo Kazooie game feel like if that's the Gruntilda you saw all the time, was the aftermath of you losing, I honestly, I thought, I was thinking today, that could be a great plot point for a Banjo 3 if they ever made it. Like, she somehow stole someone's beauty finally, and you've got to somehow undo what she did. And that could be an interesting take on a story to continue on with that. But, her as a character, I wish I had some of her rhymes pulled up, actually. I didn't pull any of them up. She's just, like I said, she's just funny. Ryan, do you have anything to add about Gruntilda from Kazooie, the Kazooie era, at least? Her layer's cool. I mean,
I don't like that final fight at all.
Sure.
The quiz show.
Oh,
I'm not a fan.
The quiz show, I don't know. A lot of people don't like that. I think it's unique. I don't have an issue.
Oh, yeah, it's unique.
I thought it was cool.
It's annoying, though.
Well, you got to be good. You got to know what you're playing.
See, I enjoy it. I have good memories of that in particular because back in the day, like back when I first played it in 98 with my dad, I remember, I don't know how we knew to do this. Maybe Nintendo Power told us or something, but her sister, we would take down everything she would tell us about her, like on a notepad. I wish I had that notepad somewhere. I don't know if I kept it or not. Oh, so we were like prepared when we got to that point for some of the questions.
Yeah,
so that was kind of neat.
I loved that part. I thought it was great. It's definitely, it breaks up everything you've done in the game. And I know we're not talking about the game specifically, but the fact that I've heard just like being there, it's like you could fight her, but instead she's going to make you come across a quiz show board to get to the other side. Again, just shows the wittiness and humor of that character, and the fact that like this is part of her plan to take you down is you're going to have to beat me in a trivia game, and you beat her, so then she runs off, obviously, and you gotta go get her. But Gruntilda after Banjo Kazooie. Well, first off, I guess we could just kind of talk about her, how she just kind of takes over Spiral Mountain. Like, I'm not sure if she took over Spiral Mountain and just like kicked everyone out of there and just planted her home there, or if she's always been there from the start. Josh, are you familiar with that? Of her origins with that?
If I remember correctly, and that's kind of getting into the third game.
Yeah.
Grunty's Revenge, because it goes back in time, and her layer is just being built. So there's not like actual years per se in the games, but you could kind of put it as like the 70s if you were to put a year to it. And so, yeah, I don't think she had always been there.
So she moves in, basically takes it over, and you just hope she doesn't come out to mess with you. But her lair is really cool. It's really creepy. It's just her mouth wide open with a bridge coming out from it, and then you got to cross it to go into it. Obviously, her theme song is probably, I would argue, it's actually the most popular song in Banjo Kazooie. I know it's not even really in a Smash remake. I know it had a small cameo in one of the Smash songs, but overall, I think when I think of Banjo Kazooie, I think of her theme, her layer theme.
Yeah, and all the different variations on it too. When you get near other worlds, it kept it not as it kept it from getting stale when you were wandering around the lair.
Absolutely, it's such a catchy theme. It's based off of the Teddy Bears Go Marching song,
something like that. Yeah, I remember hearing that somewhere.
It's really creepy, actually. The original version is pretty darn creepy.
And of course, that all is Grant Kirkhope.
Yes. But I always loved her theme song. I still do, and I'm still surprised because the final battle is really just a more intense version of that song that you hear throughout the whole layer. I'm really surprised they didn't do that song in general, like as a rock metal version in Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Yeah, it should have been. That's nice.
It really should have been. I mean, it is a key song to the franchise. Again, I would argue it's more popular than the intro song on that you see when you start the game up. And I'd argue it's more popular than Spiral Mountain because you're in the lair pretty much 90%, 95% of this game, and that's the song you hear is her theme song.
But, yeah, to add to Kazooie in particular, that last boss fight is quite a jump in difficulty.
It's super hard, man. I mean, there's no boss fights throughout the entire game, and then you come to that.
There is, but nothing quite like that. That's a whole different level.
Nothing like a major boss fight. Everyone's like smaller. There's smaller enemies and stuff.
Yeah.
More, I guess you could consider those more as like mini boss fights.
Yeah.
I would never consider anything in Banjo Kazooie levels full on boss fights, not like Mr. Patch and stuff in Tooie.
Yeah.
So I guess we can transition over to Tooie. She changes a lot. She's not. I would argue that Grunty actually becomes a darker character. She's very angry. Spoilers, you beat her, she gets trapped under a rock for like a whole year.
2 years.
In 2 years they start up. That's how long it actually took them to transition from Kazooie to Tooie. But she's trapped under a boulder for 2 years, and she has no more flesh. She's a complete skeleton of herself, and it's kind of creepy, to be honest. Kind of weird because you're not used to seeing that, and it's kind of. I don't feel like Nintendo normally does that, like where their villains have been. They're used to looking one way, and then the next game they're completely different. Bowser's not really like that, you know. Bowser looks like Bowser for the most part, so it's very interesting that that's the route they took. But I think her image adds to how her personality changes. Is she still, silly? I think she is in her actions, but I think the decisions she makes in Tooie as opposed to Kazooie are a lot more severe and a lot more darker, which it fits the flow of that game. Banjo-Kazooie is, I would argue, is more darker and depressing by far than Kazooie. That's the feeling and tone you get throughout the whole thing. Would you agree, Josh? What do you think of Gruntilda in Tooie as opposed to Kazooie?
Yeah, so first, this is kind of what I half mentioned earlier. When she comes out from under the boulder and is a skeleton, she's still fat somehow. I haven't quite understood that part.
Yeah. She's just big boned.
But yeah, I mean, at this point, she's just basically trying to kill everyone she can and get her flesh back.
She's basically on a revenge tour in that game.
Yeah, in the first opening scene, she kills Bottles.
Oh man,
she's trying to. Yeah, so she's trying to kill Banjo and Kazooie. Of course, they make it out of the house, but Bottles, long story short, ends up hanging behind and gets himself killed. So that's just to start things out.
Funny, actually.
And her sisters, her two sisters that were not in the first game, are the ones that got her out from the rock to begin with. Because, gosh, I feel like I forgot to mention some stuff about the first one now, but her little minion Klungo was not able to do it on his own, and they showed up with their big drill and magic and everything and blew the rock away. And they're kind of a whole other part of that story, that whole dynamic between her and her two sisters. I'm going to end up saying their names wrong. I've noticed.
Does she have? How many sisters does she have?
2.
Well, 3, sort of.
In Tooie, she has 2.
Yeah. The good one.
You said that there was one that was talking in the first one.
Yeah, yes. And she's only in the first game, and she's the only good one. Now, I'm pulling it up now because
so
I'm good.
Kind of Wizard of Oz-esque. I mean, some of that can pull from that. Really, the green skin and what have you.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So these two are Mingella and Belda. I could not remember how to say her.
Belda is fatter than Gruntilda.
She's huge.
Oh, she's hideous. They're all hideous, but
yeah. So anyway, the whole dynamic there is pretty funny throughout. But they do pretty early on tell her to quit rhyming. So
that's
for
funny.
most of that game, she's not rhyming because she was starting to drive them crazy.
That's pretty
terrible
funny.
Gimmick.
Yeah. So I'm jumping a little bit ahead here, but by the end of that game, she ends up killing them anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's what I mean. She's merciless. She kills her own sisters when things are going south.
And this is during another one of those game show type things. She drops a ton weight on each of them because they didn't do as good as Banjo does. So she just decides to just kill them off and no remorse. So it's more in a goofy way than anything, but they're definitely dead. You never see them again.
After they saved her life by breaking her out of a boulder, but that's how she repays them. Gruntilda is really kind of ruthless. I mean, even the characters from Kazooie and Tooie, like if you talk to them, they all describe like the things that this witch has done to them. Like they've all been like cursed, and she's transformed them or done something to them. As a matter of fact, Mumbo, I mean, he was the shaman. He was her. If you read the manual to the game, he was actually like her trainer. Like he taught her magic, and then she became dark and betrayed him and turned Mumbo Jumbo into the skeleton character that we see. She outgrew his own talents. Shocker. Spoilers.
And he decided to stay that way.
Yeah, and then he wants to like marry her when she like gets all hot and stuff too. So all forgiven apparently with Mumbo. He's another character. We'll save his spotlight for another day. He's pretty interesting. But so yeah, and Tooie, that's how she goes. And then you beat her up, and she's still alive, but you like blow her body's not intact anymore, but her head is still active and talking. They're playing soccer with it at the end of Tooie, that's for sure. But so then she goes on into, do you want to talk about nuts and bolts? Because I actually don't know really anything about nuts and bolts besides the fact that she's ahead still.
The next one.
Oh, I guess you're right. It's not nuts and bolts yet.
Well, the way I have this listed here.
No, you're right.
The next one, I guess, would technically be Grunty's Revenge.
Yes,
I don't see it on my list, but I know that one.
Where does Pilot fall in here?
I believe it comes out before Nuts and Bolts. Right before it. 2007, I think it was. Now, that's where it gets a little bit confusing, is Grunty's Revenge actually takes place between 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's a prequel.
But it's like a side story. It's not like
the original pre-sequel?
Yeah, something like that. So she's still under the rock, but her ghost comes out, and Klungo helps her with a robot body, and she has a big robot body the whole game. So it's a little bit ridiculous, but it's kind of expected at this point.
It's funny.
So she ends up kidnapping Kazooie in that one.
Why didn't she just put her ghost in a robot body and get the rock off her herself? And
that's a good question.
Plot reason.
There you go. So she's able to kidnap Kazooie and travel through time. The rock's still there. That's a good point. But anyway, you end up saving Kazooie pretty early on. And then you kick her butt. She's stuck back under the rock. So there's not a whole lot to that one.
No. Unfortunately, I actually have not beat it, and I need to. I didn't get it till later on in life, like last year from Traven for Christmas. So is her personality really? Does she doesn't do much talking in that one, Josh?
I mean, not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of story in that one. It sets itself up, and then it's just kind of rolls through.
How long is that game, hour-wise?
I think I've beat it. I beat it about 2 or 3, probably about 3 times now, and I think it takes less than 10 hours. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, it's not too bad.
Interesting.
Pretty easy.
Okay, well, obviously let's talk about nuts and bolts. So we kind of go back to how you see her ending off in Tooie, which is something I always loved that Banjo Kazooie was consistent with. That's the progression of her character. Like we talked about, she was green and evil in the first. She's all bone and skeleton in the second. And then not looking at the adventure in between for, the Game Boy Advance version, she is just ahead in Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. Like in the whole intro of the scene, she's basically Banjo Kazooie are tired, old, and fat. They just kind of have given up because Gruntilda has not been around to really cause problems. But she finally shows up as a head. But she's pretty pathetic looking. You know what I mean? She's not herself. She's pathetic. And she's pathetic villains going up against the
everyone's pathetic
heroes. Yeah, that's basically kind of the theme. even the game looks a little bit still depressing, like the way they drew up everything. But then she gets put into a robot body by a character named
LOG.
Log.
He's Lord of Games.
Lord of Games. He's essentially supposed to be like God in the gaming world. And he gets Banjo Kazooie back into shape, and they look great. And then Gruntilda, I don't know why he doesn't give her a body back, but he puts her head in a jar, and she's got like a robot body again. But her head floats in a jar.
He's actually in it.
Kind of like Dr. Quack.
Yeah.
Except for he's not his head, but similar.
She also gets a cat in that game.
Does she really?
Yeah, Piddles, I think is his name.
Can you explain her? Is she mean to her cat? Like what? How has she changed? Is she nicer? Is she a bit more humbled since she's got her butt beat 3 times now? Or
that is the only Banjo game I've never beat. I keep going back to it, and it's like, oh yeah, this isn't so bad. And then I get like halfway through, and I'm like, I start having trouble, and I just kind of fade off into something else. But yeah, from what I remember, when she first gets the cat, she kicks it, but then it comes back and bites her. Like her head is connected to the body, and there's this little tube, and it like likes to snatch onto that thing.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that doesn't feel too good. So yeah, it's pretty funny.
Interesting. Oh, Ryan, as we've talked about Gruntilda, why don't you chime? What are you thinking here? I know Ryan's kind of like our listening co-host today, apparently.
Scott, I don't have a lot of experience outside of the first game. So I didn't even know that she had a skeleton form or a ghost form or a robot form.
Wow.
I didn't know any of that.
2 robots.
Yeah, 2 robots.
So I liked who she was in the first one a lot. It sounds like they did a big departure in the second one, and I've heard it's a lot drearier. That's kind of what steered me away from trying to play it. I've heard some negative about it, saying it's just not the same as the first one. It doesn't capture the charm of the first one necessarily. And then Nuts and Bolts, I heard, is just complete removal from everything. Now, I haven't looked into any of the Game Boy Advance stuff or what have you. What platform was Grunty's Revenge on?
Game Boy Advance. And
okay, so there's 2 titles on Game Boy Advance, but one wasn't officially released?
Yeah, they were both released. Pilot, I'll at least say for the story for it doesn't really have one. Okay. Like the characters are kind of looking like they did at the beginning. Like Gruntilda's like normal, green, whatever. So there's not really a whole lot to talk about on that one. You can play as Gruntilda.
Okay, interesting. Now, do they give a name to her broomstick? It has eyes and everything, so...
He does have a name.
Crap, I should know that. Yeah. I'm pretty sure everything has a name. Everything has googly eyes and a name. I know her pot's name is Dingpot. What is her broomstick's name?
It's probably called broomstick.
You know what? I mean, from what I'm looking at here, it says Gruntilda's broomstick is like the name. So I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. It probably does.
So, now does this broomstick make any more appearances in later games?
No, I believe it's gone in the middle of the last fight in Banjo Kazooie, and that's it. It's toast. It does pop up in Smash Brothers.
Now, does it fly off, or does it they just don't say anything what happens to it?
I think you knock her out of the sky, and it's just destroyed. I can't remember exactly how that goes about, because when you beat her in that game, the last part, she's standing on the side of the cat or her tower. She's not flying around because you have already knocked her out of the sky. Mm-hmm. So I think it just gets destroyed.
I have the guidebook to Banjo Kazooie that I bought off of Amazon or whatever, eBay.
I've got the Tui one right here. Yeah.
I used to have Tui when I got the game. I used to have that. I need to get that again. But Gruntilda, her profile is rude, lewd, and not what you'd call easy on the eyes. Ghastly Gruntilda will swoop down from her mountain hideaway to capture the fairest of them all, Tootie. In the witch's lab, Grunty has concocted a machine that will swap her haggish mug with Tootie's cubby cuteness. literally green with envy. Gruntilda's desire to be beautiful will be what starts the whole adventure. And yeah, she is pretty ugly if you just look at her pictures right there. She's not easy on the eyes. But I love her character because she is unique. She's funny. She's different. And just what we talked about with her whole interaction. I think Kazooie's the best, it's the best game in the series. And I think it represents the characters at their purest form of what we love about them. And, whenever they do a Banjo 3, I really hope that Gruntilda is back and to her old self. I really would love for them to go back to green rhyming Gruntilda. Do you think they would, or do you think they would just continue on with this progression of her character?
It's been 11 years since Nuts and Bolts. I almost feel like they would bring her back, be it just a reboot or for whatever reason she goes back to normal.
I hope she has her classic rhyming and everything, because that was a lot of charm to it. I think that's... I really enjoyed that villain. I don't know why I didn't enjoy Banjo Kazooie as much as I did. Maybe because I didn't have access to it as much as a kid.
Probably. You were playing on the Xbox, too.
I definitely didn't enjoy playing on the Xbox at all. Like, I was trying to speed through that thing, and I didn't enjoy it.
That's how you originally played it, yeah.
And I used a strategy guide through most of it just to get past the part. And that's part of the reason why I didn't like the quiz show. I guess I just kind of knew the answers, and it didn't have any meaning for me. It's a shame. I should have taken my time and played it. I think you were pushing me to get through it, and I'm glad that I did play it through and beat it. I wish I would have had more of my childhood able to play that, because I'd only get to play it whenever we're at Zach's house. And I know I died quite a bit because I was young and didn't understand any of it.
I know this isn't Banjo Kazooie episode, but I mean, fun fact, another reason why I think I'm so tied to this game, why I love it, it was actually the very first Nintendo 64 game I ever got to demo. We were at Sears off East Washington Street in the mall. Sears is no longer there, I believe. That mall has gone way downhill and everything closes there. But we were up at Sears, and when Sears used to have video games, they used to actually sell them. They don't anymore, but they used to. I remember my mom was shopping, and she let me hang out the game section, and they had the Nintendo 64 set up. And I remember running around as Banjo around Spiral Mountain. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that this was an awesome game. I didn't have a 64 yet, and I couldn't wait to get one. And that was the game that they were demoing, Banjo Kazooie. And I think it's all why it's all tied to my mind. And I loved because Brad had it and throwing me.
Nintendo Power. I remember getting the VHS for it before it came out. If you've ever went back, you can watch that on YouTube still.
I didn't have Nintendo Power back then.
I watched that VHS tape, like that one and all the rest of them, the Donkey Kong Country, Star Fox 64, all those, over and over again as a kid, and that one got me pretty excited. So I think
Mountain.
Yeah, I remember how he says it. I don't know why I haven't watched that in years, but I think I even had a pre-order T-shirt or something, but I don't know what happened to it.
I'm so jealous.
So Gruntilda as a whole, not a very successful villain at all.
At least not until we encounter her. I mean, she did set up her whole layer and everything.
The what's the word I'm looking for? The collection, the cadre, the bunch of villains. I think she comes out as the lowest IQ probably. But she knows how to rhyme, so you gotta question that too.
She has her moments, sort of in the beginning of Tui. I feel like is her little bit of victory, I guess, but then you just kind of end up knocking her right back down again.
Well, that's the thing about her is that I don't know. She's not straight up dumb. She's not Klungo dumb, she does do some devious things. She's been a bully. She's a bully to all these characters. So when Banjo and Kazooie come around, they legit are the heroes because they're going to undo all this crap that she's done. So obviously she's smart enough to be able to have the magic powers that she does to take over what she's done. It's just her motives are really silly, and then she definitely is a flawed character. Like I feel like she can be tricked easily. I'm pretty sure, like I bet Bowser could put her in her place. Honestly, I really think he could. But you know what? That would be because Bowser has a lot of humor in him too. Like you just watch him in the Paper Mario series and how he talks in the RPGs. That would be a funny encounter to see Bowser and Gruntilda just bickering at each other. That would be pretty darn funny.
Yeah, I like the idea. Like in Smash, you can bring these characters together. Have Bowser, come in and beat up. It just blanked on me. I just lost my thought. Going into the Banjo Kazooie stage, you have all three of those bosses in the same area. K. Rool. Why did I forget K. Rool? Have Bowser versus K. Rool, and then have Gruntilda flying around in the background. It's like you can almost get that taste. Almost.
Yeah. If we could put
it'd be awesome if all those bosses
that'd be awesome. She'd be unique. Gruntilda as a fighter in Smash.
You can't have an episode about Gruntilda without saying Gruntilda for Smash.
Gruntilda for Smash. Cast your votes. I mean, if Nintendo could ever get the licensing back for Banjo Kazooie, I believe it could happen. At this point, I don't really think it would, but hey, you never say never. We've learned that.
Well, yeah.
Well, I guess that's pretty much Gruntilda. She's silly, she rhymes, and she's pretty brutally mean too when she wants to be. When she starts to lose, I think she makes more desperate, heartless decisions. Because Tooie, she kills off a lot of people. It's a lot of characters. It's not just Bottles and her sisters. There's others that she kills, and it's for a children's game. It's kind of like, oh wow, that's actually a little gruesome. So she is more of a scarier figure, I think, in Tooie as opposed to Kazooie. Or Kazooie, she's definitely more, I think, playful.
She also gets herself killed defeated. Can't really say killed. No, but the last fight, she's got that huge spell she's holding above her head, and you shoot her with Kazooie, and then she drops it in the drill she's in, and she can't find it, and then it explodes, and she's toast. Nothing but a head.
Yep. Way to go, Gruntilda. Spoilers. Just kidding.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about those games, obviously. Right.
We
at other times.
Mention it. I don't think. What happens in the game over screens in the other games? Does Gruntilda do something in those?
No. They didn't do that. Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of what they decided to do for the first one, but then they didn't do that for the sequels.
That's a shame, man.
Kind of surprises me because Rare did that a lot. Donkey Kong 64, Conker's Bad Fur Day had multiple game over screens.
Oh yeah.
So that was just kind of a thing they did.
I don't know. I feel like they. Again, that's the reason. Another reason why Tooie is not as good as Kazooie, because I feel like they tried to make it more grand of a game, make it bigger and longer, whereas Kazooie was more charming and it was smaller but well thought out. I think it was better, and there was just a lot of fun charm to that, where Tooie didn't really have that. So maybe cutting out the extra scene at the end is a part of that. You know what I mean? Little things like that.
See, I still thought Tooie did a lot of things right. I still really enjoy it. I feel like it gets a little more looked at different. Yeah, it gets looked at differently now. It's harder for me to go back to that one. I still love it almost on an equal level. It's just a little bit different. But
I definitely don't dislike it. But
it requires a lot out of you, and it's harder for me to go back to that sort of thing now to replay a game that you have to. There's a lot to remember.
Yeah.
So I don't get into that too long.
Hopefully, we'll get to experience these games again on a Nintendo system. That would be really special, and seeing Gruntilda fly around again. Hopefully in HD graphics, but I'll take even the old N64 look.
Oh, Whatever, just get them on the Nintendo. Yeah.
They don't look bad on the Xbox, but I noticed, especially with TUI, the frame rate is an issue. Well, it's not an issue is the problem. Especially in the beginning of TUI, the music does not sync up with the scene.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, because like Rare, the way they made it, they compensated because they knew the scene slowed down, so the music still lined up with it. You don't really notice it on the 64, but it's not slowing down on the Xbox, so it's getting ahead of the music.
That's very interesting.
They didn't fix that in the port, so.
Yeah, I believe that the song actually just ends without like ending. It doesn't like get to finish itself. It just cuts off.
Yeah, the scene's done and the music's in the middle of the music's in the middle of it. And Donkey Kong 64 does the same on the Wii U, I think, too.
Really? Huh.
Is it for both versions? The Xbox Live one and then also the one on Replay?
Yeah, it's the same game. Yeah.
So even in the remake, or the HD upgrade, they didn't fix that.
No.
Weird.
I played it on the 360 and on Rare Replay on my Xbox One, and it was the same problem.
Wow.
Crazy. Well, guys, let's wrap this show up. Ryan, we didn't do our due diligence at the start of the show. Oh no! But I think we should do our due diligence here, and we'll call it a night.
Sure thing, man. You can find us on our home site at thenintendovillage.com/Nintendo Nostalgia. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. You can find us on Facebook.com/NintendoNOS, on our Twitter at Nintendo_NOS. Shoot us an email at NintendoNostalgiaIN@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube, and you can find us on Instagram, NintendoNOSIN. Guys, that brings us to the end of the episode. However, next week is our big episode. You ready for this? 150. That's right. And if you really enjoy the show, we'd super appreciate it if you called into our hotline, send us a message, let us know what you think about how we've done this 150 episodes. You can give us a call on the hotline. It's 317-969-5690. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and we'll see you next week for a big 150. Later, Preston.
Bye.
Peace.